Number 5 is such an important prayer, but it's a scary one. Pray that God will use you. Pray that God will use you with no strings attached. I used to pray to God, okay, you can use me as long as it fits into my schedule, as long as it's in my comfort zone, as long as it doesn't involve teenagers, as long as I don't have to give up too much. Hello, how arrogant is it to say things like, as long as I don't have to give up too much, to the man who gave up his position at the right hand of God and became God incarnate to die on a cross for my sins. And I have to admit that I have said that to God so many times. Really? You want me to do that? Do you know how uncomfortable that's going to be? For instance, being on video camera. Do you know how, do you know what I'm going to have to give up? Do you know how that just is not how I was, made? Lord, you're the one that made me. Why are you stretching me? And it's so important that you allow God to use you where He wants to use you, when He wants to use you. Because we were created for such a time as this. And we never know what we are not being a part of. I mean, what a privilege it is to be a part of God's plan. He doesn't need us. He wants us. He wants us to be a part of His plan. And what a privilege and an honor that is. I can guarantee you that when you begin to pray that, though, some weird and scary things may start to happen. And God might be asking you to step out of a place, and you might not see where you're stepping out to. And that's the awesome thing about faith and believing. And that's where not doubting comes in. He is faithful to give us the strength to do what He calls us to do. The 6th thing is to pray for others. Some wisdom that our pastor gave us a long time ago is that it's really hard to be angry at someone that you're praying for. And that is the truth. And I have seen it at work so many times in my own life, that someone that had just hurt my feelings or made me mad, if I pray for them out loud by name, it is almost impossible to continue to hold and harbor a grudge or angerness or bitterness, resentment, and unforgiveness. Ephesians 6:19, the Apostle Paul, he frequently asked for prayer. He says, "Pray also for me, that whenever I open my mouth, words may be given me, so that I will fearlessly make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains. Pray that I may declare it fearlessly, as I should." He was such a man of God, but he needed to know that other people were praying for him. Our church has a prayer quilt ministry. And I remember when I was really sick a couple of years ago, and someone asked me if it was okay if they made a prayer quilt for me. And I thought, yeah, I guess. I mean, I hate that people are going to be, thinking about me and my name's going to be out there. And I was uncomfortable with it, but the person that asked, I wasn't going to say no to. And so, and I love the concept of the prayer quilts, and I love that we lay them out front and people come and pray over them, and each knot represents somebody that was praying. And you don't realize how powerful that is until you get a prayer quilt. And on days when I felt very alone or sad, just getting out the prayer quilt, not that there's any power in the quilt, although it's very pretty, but just knowing that it had been infused with love and people had specifically lifted me before the throne for comfort and healing and so that I would feel the presence of God in my life was very, very powerful. And so I love that prayer quilt now. It's become very important to me. Praying for people carries them through. If God brings someone to your mind, I always say the first thing I'm going to do when someone's name comes to my mind is pray for them, because He's probably bringing them to my remembrance for a reason. And I've been so blessed by people following through in obedience with that. I have friends that have said, you came to my mind at on Tuesday at 12 o'clock, you know, and I will think and I'll be like, oh, and I prayed for you, and I'll say, oh, thank you so much, because this is what was happening on Tuesday at 12 o'clock. And God can do that. And maybe sometimes we're not in a position where we even feel like praying, and we don't want to go to God with it. And isn't it awesome that He intercedes and has people interceding on our behalf? Prayer carries us through, and knowing that people are praying for you is a powerful, powerful thing.